Welcome to iDriveSoCal. I am Tom Smith, and with us now is Cheyanne Kane, who is the producer director of a super cool new documentary on Ed Iskenderian, also known as Isky. And now, a couple of quick disclaimers. It's a new doc, but it's like running the show circuit right now, which Cheyanne will tell us about. We're going to have a little Q&A here. Cheyanne, what brought you to be inspired to do a documentary on Ed Iskenderian? Thank you for doing it, by the way. It's awesome. But by the way, guys, I saw it and it's super cool. I saw it in its quote unquote embargo status. So you can't see it yet, but I did. So thank you for sharing, Cheyanne.
Well, thank you, Tom, for watching it. And thank you for the introduction. Yes, I met Ed Iskenderian in 2007, and our executive producer, Dr. Jeffrey Laham, has a relationship with Ed. And I was lucky enough to get to hang around them while they were talking. They would spend sometimes 10 hours a day. And I just immediately was inspired. I could not stop listening to them. I ended up pulling out my camera, started recording. And when I would look at it after, Isky would leave, I could not stop watching the footage. So eventually, after hearing these incredible stories that are so inspiring, going into this hot rod world that I didn't know anything about, I thought I have to make a documentary about this man. So I decided to do it, and I went for it.
So in the documentary, and it's okay for me to talk about it and reference things that I remember, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, cool.
Yes,
So in the
absolutely.
documentary, there is a point where, I'm betting that this is the footage that you're talking about. There's a gentleman, I think he was a doctor of some sort, sitting
Mhm.
with Isky in front of the internet, like 1.0, 2.0. And they did a Google search on Ed Iskenderian or some or Isky or some particular keyword like that, and marveled at the fact that there was like 14,000 or 15,000 results that immediately pulled up. Is that the individual and also some of the footage that you're referring to?
It is that I call that my archival footage that I took over the years, where just learning about it and learning about Edward. And that was actually the first time Edward saw himself on the internet. So it was a really beautiful moment.
So I'm a media guy, I'm a marketing guy. Um, I'm marveling at this situation from so many different perspectives, and I'm going to try and dial it down for the iDriveSoCal audience, which is car lovers, automotive enthusiasts throughout Southern California and beyond. But I'm probably going to trail off a little bit, so I apologize to you in advance, and then also to the audience. Um, but so so Iski, so it's right now 2025. You shot this thing over the course of at least a year or two. Is that correct? So some of the footage goes back quite a ways.
Well, when I started the documentary, I officially started in 2016 with a crew,
Wow.
but the footage, my archival, my home footage with him started in 2007 over the years.
Wow.
So, I've been very blessed to know Iski, to see him all the time, to hang out with him. It was in 2015 where I decided to do some location scouts with Edward. And, after that, that was the first time actually I walked into his shop, Isky Racing Cams. And I have to tell you, that moment was so overwhelming and beautiful. The shop, the sounds, the lighting, the natural lighting, the world, just it just all of a sudden to me was this other part of that automotive world, working with their hands, the sounds of the shop, like I said. We had a wonderful composer, Marty Beller, And I spoke to quite a few composers, but when I told Marty some of the ideas that I had for our composition for the music, he didn't flinch. So that's when I knew I was with the right person, because what I did is I sent Marty a camshaft that Ed had picked out for me, and a few pieces of, the metal and the different pieces they would work with. I went with my sound guy on many occasions and just shot the sound, recorded the sounds of the machines. Of There's this one where the water, goes over it and it sparks, looks like fire. It's just the most beautiful shot, and the sound of that was so captivating. So we were able to incorporate that into the film, which I thought was just, really exciting.
I have to say, from a production quality perspective, it is beautiful, and it's interesting that you bring up the sounds, because I mean, I have a whole bunch of questions or notes that I took, but one of the things that, because I watched it about 3 weeks ago, so between the time that I watched it and then gave up my ability to access it anymore, because again, it is under embargo, and thank you again for sharing it with me. I feel very privileged. Uh, but one of the things that I noted was the beautiful strings in what I wrote question mark original score. So was it in fact an original score?
It is, other than the songs, that are hot rod
Right,
songs
right.
itself. Everything is original.
It's really really impressive. So then that brings me back to my original question on your inspiration. So is it is the doctor that you referred to earlier? I apologize, I'm
Uh,
forgetting his name. Is that your
Dr. Jeffrey Laham, he's one of the executive producers.
okay? But you guys were like organically together. Is he your husband by chance? Or
No.
I don't want to get too intimate, but how were you organically with him and Isky over the course of almost 20 years?
We have other projects together, other
Okay.
films. Uh, we have another company together, which you might remember the logo when he came up the first time, Turn Pro Tech. So that's how to start your own automotive business. He wrote these four different manuals on how to start your own automotive shop, which I also found really inspiring. And that I read those. I happened to see them when we were working on another project, and I couldn't stop reading them. So, but yeah, we work on other projects together. So, you know, Isky, he was having him over for lunch, and I was lucky to be there. And I pretty much said, anytime you see Isky, I would like to be there.
Well, he does seem like a fascinating guy. And one of the other things that not only is a fascinating guy, and the documentary takes you tell a great story, and it's packed with information, packed with data points, so many of which that I jotted down. Um, and I don't want to go into to too much detail here, but the one of the things that comes to mind is, Isky, the human, Isky, the kind of marketing genius with the whole sending out of stickers when his cams were getting big, as well as having beautiful girls in tight t-shirts at car shows before car shows were almost a thing. But then Isky the entrepreneur, and then Isky the obviously the innovator, but also to your point of kind of history and documenting history and being around it. At one point in your documentary, you show Isky going to an old car that looked like it had been parked for decades, opening the trunk and finding some old tapes from that he recorded from him and his mentor in camshaft making. And that was like that was so cool. Talk a little bit about how that came about and how you fit it in to the story and actually just the details, because I'm sure a lot of guys, as well as myself, I have to look it up right now. Edward Arnold Winfield is the gentleman's name, who Isky referred to as his mentor.
Correct. And I first learned about Ed Winfield from Jeffrey as well. Jeffrey, just to let you know, he is a hot rodder. He's
Gotcha.
prolific. You know, he's got all, oh my gosh, the hot rods that he has is just tremendous. So, you know, having that personal relationship with Isky really opened the doors. Um, and while we were filming, Isky, you know, would talk about Ed. He'd talk about his relationship with him. Other people I interviewed would talk about Ed. And it was one day Ed mentioned, oh, you know what? I think I have some recordings of me and Ed. And he's, I mean, 104 years old. He is full of stories, has so many to tell. And I would still be filming him right now if it weren't for my producer, Carrie Ann Enright, you know. But anyway, so the moment he just, you know what? I think I have some cassette tapes. And I was like, oh my goodness, Ed, well, where are they? Let's go find them. I want to hear them. And so he had gone to an auction after Winfield had passed away and bought everything. And that's also where he bought the Landis, Ed Winfield's cam grinding machine. And while we were filming, that's basically what happened is Jeffrey was walking around outside in the back, and he came up to Ed. He said, Ed, oh my gosh, I think I just saw Winfield's cam grinding machine. And it was during lunch. I had a pretty good crew at that time. And Isky just threw his food aside. He went, oh, yeah. And then he got on the forklift and he started clearing out the way. He'd get off, he'd move a piece of metal, he'd move this, get back on the forklift. You know, everybody was eating lunch. So I called our still photographer who also did video for me. And I said, Sean. So, most of the footage we got was with Sean and Isky just unveiling literally this cam grinding machine that was Ed Winfield's. And Ed had it sent to Speedway Museum in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay.
So that cam grinding machine now sits there.
Wow.
Um, but it was really that's the other thing about Ed. You know, as you said, he's innovative. He's a marketing genius. He's imaginative. He's curious. He's and he's also very, wants to share the knowledge and the information. So after we did find that, he had a lot of people, I think, call him about it. And I thought that was really beautiful to have it in a museum where everybody can see it.
And so is the there was a lot of shots where it seems to be like you're at Isky's facility. Is that all one location? Because it looked like a big, maybe acre or so lot, including a building with where his cams are being made and whatnot. But it reminded me of like a Sanford and Son kind of setup, like, and especially as you point out, like grabbing a forklift, moving this, moving that, throwing this piece of metal over here. I mean, it was like what this is the guy is a walking marvel and encyclopedia and piece of history in his own right, but then he's surrounded by like here's all his environment of history too. It was quite fascinating.
Yes, and it's really wonderful what is also just incredible. He remembers everything he got.
Where everything is, generally speaking.
Yes, yes. And, and he would buy things so he could learn how they worked. And sometimes he'd have a thought, well, maybe this person could use this. But his interest and his curiosity to, learn about things and it is incredible because he's exactly like that today. I mean, from when I first met him in 2007 to, 2025, his curiosity, his imagination is nonstop and inspiring.
And he's still alive, going strong.
Yes, he is.
With now in the documentary, there wasn't your quote or his quote, but it was somebody else quoted two things that stuck out. One, that he smokes 10 cigars a day, and then two, um, something about him wanting a jar of pepperoncinis once the pepperoncinis were already eaten, because he liked to have the pepperoni juice specifically to gargle with it. So I'm wondering if there might be some health tips to take away from the 104-year-old who's still sharp and curious and running around doing stuff that he's passionate about.
Well, I would say that since I have been with him, it's a lot of onions, hot sauce, and I have definitely added that to my diet.
Okay, but you're not smoking 10 cigars a day?
I end up choking on it, but I certainly did try.
So still at his age, he's really smoking multiple cigars a day. I mean, 10,
I don't know if
2,
he's
3
smoke. I don't know if he's smoking multiple cigars really per se today, but he definitely has his cigars.
on a daily basis.
Uh, I believe so. I mean, I don't see him every
Right,
single day,
right, right.
but it's been a part of his life. I mean, working on machines, self-taught engineer, being around with these daring other mavericks, and that I think really it's his happiness, his passion, his love for what he's doing, and again, back to his curiosity and his imagination. It,
It is remarkable, the curiosity and just the fact that you can almost, and you do a great job of illustrating this in the film, of him kind of all in one moment being a curious, excited, passionate child, as well as a wise um, dispenser or dispensary of information and facts and knowledge and expertise. I mean, it's he's a really fascinating guy. He's a really interesting guy. Um, so at one stage in the documentary, you go to, or you take us to a race of sorts. I want to say it might have been Bakersfield. You know what I'm referring to? And then
yes.
and then he's in a golf cart. You have cameras rolling. He's in a golf cart with somebody. I'm forgetting who. Um, but as he's going through uh, the thousands of people that are there as race fans, everybody recognizes him. And everybody's like, Isky, and like kids are, grandparents are bringing their kids up, like, get a picture with my, was all that fan adulation? I mean, you didn't make that up for the camera, right?
No,
That was legit.
that was absolutely the real deal. That was what I call our rock star moment.
Yeah.
He is a rock star in the automotive world and at the car meets. Um, he has over the years constantly gone to the car shows, to different speaking events, and that was at Famoso at the March meet.
Okay.
And that was Ron Lee, who was hanging out with him and drove with him to the car show. But yep, it that was just me following him. Thank goodness, with a couple of guys with cameras. and a couple of sound people, and literally just watching it as it played out. And in fact, it started happening, and I literally had to grab everybody, and we just sat back and watched. But that was just like it's, that when you hear Ron say, I don't know if you remember, but it's like, we gotta go,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he was definitely trying to usher, he was part security, part kind of, gatekeeper to him, but then also like keeping the show moving too. But it was really remarkable. So speaking of car shows, and this is another thing, I mean, doing what I do, I, I love all cars. Everybody, there's countless people that know more about their specific niches than me. I'm kind of a generalist and just love cars and happen to be a media guy and put the two things together, created iDriveSoCal. But what what one of the many things that blew my mind was Isky was the original president, if not one of the original founders of SEMA.
He was the first president of SEMA.
So, and now SEMA, I mean, I've interviewed those guys a couple of times for different things recently over the course of the last handful of months. Obviously, it's grown tremendously, and the SEMA show is one of the biggest shindigs in automotive events globally on an annual basis. This year, they're actually opening it up to the public for one of the days. But what, like, does he, I mean, it makes me think of, again, when your doctor friend is sitting there showing him like, oh, 13, 14,000, 15,000 results on Google for Ed Iskenderian. But then, I mean, SEMA, like, does he realize the impact that he's had? I'm guessing kind of maybe yeah, maybe no, but it's just it's fascinating. What is your takeaway from what he takes away from that?
That's a really, really good question. I experience Ed. I think he understands absolutely what SEMA is and what it has become. Ed has influenced an entire automotive era and is the most humble person I have ever met. He is, I do believe he understands, who he is in the world and what it is, but his humbleness and his desire for people to know about, the world, the automotive world, performance racing, power and speed. Um, I think that is is so important to him. So I don't think what I experience is I don't think he really thinks about it that way. I don't think that's what, for lack of other words, is important. I think he just cares about sharing knowledge. He talks about um, learning from each other back in the day. And there was one point I remember where he said, I remember when things started to change, where people became more secretive about their ideas. And he even talked about that moment, as an observer, maybe a little sad, but he's been at the shop his entire life. That door was always open for people to come and talk with him, and I don't think people realized that. But he would meet with a lot of people. I have a lot of footage where we're at the shop and people are coming in just from, had no idea that they were coming, and Ed would stop everything and hang out with them, answer all their questions.
It's remarkable. So, it kind of brings me back to another like the shadow that he has cast is just it's hard to really I don't know. I mean, to some perspective, I think Henry Ford or Elon Musk, and I mean that story is still being written, but Um, but one of the other things that I think is remarkable that I learned in your documentary, but also want to note here is, correct me if I'm wrong, he made his first camshaft, thought that it was too noisy and kind of a failure, but then this thing called NASCAR came along, and it was perfect for them, and like all of a sudden his camshaft was like what everybody had to have. Is that kind of a fair summary?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a perfect example of where his curiosity and his imagination takes over, and he's not afraid of that. I don't even think failure was necessarily a word in his brain. He was embarrassed by the sound of it, but he wasn't afraid to try things. And working with his hands, if working with our hands inspires our imagination, inspires ideas. So he was never afraid to try things. So in making those camshafts, he thought, well, they're pretty noisy and probably nobody will want it because, and he did say, I'm a little embarrassed by it, but put it on the shelves. And later on, he mentions, remember when I said just try things? Maybe we'll figure something out. Who knows? But I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well, but that, really captures the moment of his childlikeness and not afraid to try things. And that ultimate wisdom is he's still the child with the wisdom, not afraid to try things. And yes, that, in my opinion, bridged the hot rodders, these mavericks asking this timeless question: how fast can I make this thing go without killing myself? And
I laugh because that's something that I've thought of, especially during this interview. Like, it's actually remarkable that the guy never he survived 104, like doing all the stuff that he's done, whether a machine shop accident or a racing accident. Like, he's been doing some of the most dangerous stuff out there, and he's still doing it at 104.
at 104. And he's made it possible for other people, the inspiration to generations to try new things, right? And they're doing it in a more safe way. Like Don Garlitz, they changed it so they could live to tell us the story.
So, starting to wrap it up here, but you mention in the documentary, or you have mentioned in the documentary, because your voice isn't actually in it, but you tell a marvelous story in it. Um, Ed's buddy, who was kind of like there with him from the beginning, they they both have their original hot rods that they built. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So, well, John Athen, we lost him a few years ago.
Oh,
So that was his best friend,
okay.
and they grew up together. And but yes, John Athen is right there, a part of these, daring, incredible mavericks that influenced and this cultural revolution. So John had it up until he passed away. His wife did end up selling it, but Iskey has his. It is also at Speedway Museum, I believe, in Nebraska.
So why? Okay, I say I'm going to get wrapping it up, and then I have another question. Sorry. So
Oh, good.
why Nebraska, when I know, obviously he's got Southern California roots, and then also the Lions Automobilia Museum has. I know they've there's many connections there between Isky and maybe it's just by way of Isky being in Southern California, but I would assume that he raced there or had something to do with it when it was actually Lions drag strip as opposed to the Automobilia Museum. Talk a little bit about that. If I might be asking you something that you're not aware of.
That I actually can't answer, and it's a good question. The Lions Museum, they had his birthday party there.
Yeah.
His birthday's on July 10th. I was lucky enough to go to they had his birthday party at the shop with all the the employees. that room was filled with so much love. I mean, anywhere I go, there's so much love, but it was a more intimate setting there. But then at the Lions Museum, they always have a birthday celebration there as well, which is more like what you experienced with that happened at Famoso at the March meet. But that's a good question, and I don't have an answer for it.
All right.
But I've never been to the Speedway Museum, but I'd really like to go.
Yeah, me too. So okay, now really to wrap this up, you're you are clearly the artist. Your canvas is the film, audio, visual. Uh, I was asking you about this before we started recording. For everybody that's going to be interested, and I'm going to link to your promo reel, of course, for in this article, and along with this video. But when are people going to be actually able to see the is it what do you call it? Is it just Iskenderian Isky documentary? What
It's,
is the name?
well, the title is Isky.
Isky. Okay.
On the Instagram, we have Isky the documentary.
Okay.
Um, so as we're on the film circuit journey right now, and
Okay.
we've done great. We had our world premiere in Milan at the at
Where's
a
my invite?
yeah, I know. Well, I wish I knew you then because I would have had you come with me. And we won an award there. It's an over 40-year-old film festival. So in the film festival world, 40 years old is massive. And then we went to another one in Italy, Palladino d'Oro Sport Film Festival. That film festival, I believe, is 45 years old. And then we went to Doc, Utah and St. George, Utah, Mississippi, Oxford Film Festival in Mississippi. And then we went to Beverly Hills Film Festival. So we're still waiting to hear from a few film festivals here in Los Angeles. So I always post on the Instagram whatever we get, whatever festival we get into, because I would love, for the anybody to come to the festival and we have a full screening. So Beverly Hills Film Festival, we screened at the Chinese Theater. And, if I had one wish, I would have loved for you to have to have been able to watch the film in the theater, with the sound.
Yeah.
Uh, I would definitely call myself a sound geek. I would say I'm a car geek as well. Um, Sound, and that's the thing, the sound of the cars revving up and racing. I mean, it's loud, it's thrilling, it's dangerous, and it's incredible.
It's something that
But
EVs can't, they just can't touch. It's not
yeah, but sorry, I digress. But
quite all right.
so next film festival, hopefully we get in a few more here, and so we definitely can watch there. And as soon as we have our distribution ready to go, I'm keeping everything, alerted in the Instagram right now.
So um, is it a finance thing, or is it particular
No,
channels that you want to, it's not a money thing. It's particular channels that you want to get it into for distribution, because I mean, obviously you can put it on YouTube or whatever else. And,
great.
but you know, it deserves so much more than that. But I'm just curious, like, so it's not just a money thing. It's you want to get in some particular channels, and the film festival path is the way to do it.
Yes, so that's the best way as a independent filmmaker to start. We can also, go out there and pitch the project. But the film festivals that Isky has gone to thus far is really good. So, it's a matter of being in talks with people, whether we go with the sales agent, go straight to distribution, but basically, the filmmaker, we get an offer and the next steps happen. So, and while you point out, yes, the film could be put on YouTube, but I think which you also pointed out earlier on. This is a universal story. Isky is self-educated, not just a mechanic, but an engineer, and he's raised by, immigrants. He's a first-generation Armenian that influenced an entire automotive era, was told he would make nothing of himself, and even told he certainly can't keep his last name. So, so my
Good for him.
right? And he was like, well, I'm not changing it. But so my goal has always been from the start that this man is so inspiring. I want to share it with the world, and I think it does speak to a larger audience. And so, that's why I'm holding out and looking forward to meeting with distributors and having the right offer, and then, we're on the big screen
Good for
where
you.
everybody can watch it.
Good for you. Well, again, it's the name of the documentary is Isky. We'll keep you posted, keep everyone posted, the audience, the iDriveSoCal audience posted as to when it's actually available. We'll be sure to link to your promo reel as well as your Instagram. And the filmmaker, again, Cheyanne Kane, which is much easier than Tom Smith. But thank you so much for joining, and thanks for making a beautiful documentary and telling a wonderful story. And we'll look forward to seeing it when it comes out.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your kind words and taking the time to speak with me and watching Iski. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.